Hello Gilles,
Hello, Mark.
welcome to Maritime with a French accent, the podcast by Opsealog. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining the list of the French accent we have now and share with us your experience. So maybe you want to introduce yourself for people that might not know you yet.
Yeah, hello, Max. Thanks to having me here. So this is a good opportunity to share some stuff together about my career and the vision of the maritime we got in Opsealog. So by introducing myself, my name is Gilles Cros. I'm 52 years old. Today, I work as technical director for Opsealog. So we are based in Marseille, France. So I was born in Toulouse 52 years ago. So Toulouse is in southwest of France, so not so near from the sea than Marseille.
Yeah.
So that's it. I grew up here, and so maybe what you want to focus on?
So you say, so today you're technical director of Opsealog, so
Yeah.
I guess you have done like a lot of stuff to be there today. Where did you like where did your passion started? Where did you decide that you wanted to work in technical department? What study did you do to be there today?
Yeah, it starts long ago when I was a kid. I was passionate with computers, and I was lucky to have a computer in the 80s, so it was not so often that people have a computer. So I trained myself on that and decided to make some studies in this way, okay, in the IT field. So I became an engineer. So I was graduate from the INSA de Lyon, which means National Institute of Applied Science, specialized in IT. So I decided to specialize myself in IT for many reasons. One of them is I'm passionate with computers and digital stuff like that. And most of all, more than that, I also very interested in, let's say, passionate in geopolitical fields or about the way people make decisions, in fact. So that's what drives me to this field for many reasons. But one was to build system. I like to build some very tangible things. And IT provides opportunity to do that, to develop some real stuff that are used by many people in the world. To sorry, to to so that and IT is also the way to work in many different business areas. In fact, so everywhere you got ITs. It was not so obvious in the 90s when I started to work in this field. But now it seems to be obvious to everybody that data is everywhere. Now we speak about artificial intelligence, things like that. So yeah, it was a good choice to work in IT.
It's true that at the beginning, internet was just becoming something and growing a little. All the system in place were very at the first age of development, let's say, and geopolitics was really something else, more like material things, and then data and the information take a very quick turn with the arrival of those new technologies, and so the two mixed together.
Yeah, this field are very improved across the years. Maybe it's one of the technical fields that's more improved since 20 or 30 years, especially due to the network optimizations that we have in this. So we start with mostly non-ability to work on a network. Internet was very confidential in the 90s, so just used by some universities or things like that, or very scientific to share information. And it grew up to be the thing we know today. And with that, the volume of data, the use cases, and more. The smartphone, so you have data everywhere. But IT is a matter that have some foundations that was available since the beginning, and was working in the beginning, the 80s, let's say, apply also now. But now we got more power, more data, more network in order to leverage use cases. That was very hard to do a few years ago, let's say.
So you studied at the INSA in Lyon, and what was your field of expertise. What did you do when you stopped studying your first job? Did you specialize right away into data? Or
So once I finished my studies in France, at this time you got to do your national service, let's say to provide 1 year of your life for your country. So I did that. I did that as what's called at this time scientific contingent of the contingent.
Okay.
Let's say you are working at the with your specialty in the army. And for my side, I was working for the organization in charge of the constructions of the naval assets for the army. This time, it was the topic was the construction of the aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle.
Okay. Wow.
End of the 90s, and I was working as a IT guy in this organization. So it was very interesting to see. It was my first experience in the maritime area. Okay, so it was very incredible to see such a project because, and also now this is the only aircraft for France, but it's not one of the biggest aircraft in the world, but it's not to be something very efficient.
The first aircraft carrier that is nuclear powered.
Yeah, with nuclear propulsion, and it was a very a challenge at this time. And many challenges to build it from scratch in France. So they did it. I was part of that.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting.
Because I guess the creation of this ship was a real engineering challenge for everyone. And you, which part of this did you do? Was it the computing aspect of this?
I cannot share these kind of things because classified. But what I can share is that I was working with an engineer in charge of architectural naval architecture, which were not IT engineer, in fact. And I got a funny story about that because when I came in. I go to the IT guy in place and I told them, okay, I'm new by, where can I help? Okay, you know IT, maybe you can help us with internet. So I was one of the first in this base to have access to internet. And I was, during my service, I was training this engineer, the huge guys who are thinking about how to make such a thing that an aircraft carrier, to use internet. It seems to be astonishing today to say that. It's a bit crazy, but it was the case. They did. It wasn't used at this time, so I was training them, and it was a great experience to share with these guys.
It's great to see that for us today. I mean, my generation and the other one, it's something. It seems that it has always been like this. That internet was this, but finally you realize that it's a very recent technology, and that. Century ago, people not.
It was just 30 years ago when people was building such a thing. They were not using internet or things like that, so there were other way to do that. Obviously, they had computers, in fact, so you cannot do such an aircraft carrier without computing and data. But it was not as today. So, and that was crazy. And what is very interesting also with this construction is because you can establish some parallel with IT. For instance, there are architects, there are people building the vessels, people operating the vessels, people maintaining the vessels, and the same in IT. In fact, so in IT you are building an architecture, and then you have people developing the solutions, people operating the solutions. And it was fascinating. It is very fascinating to see that there are huge parallel with a very old-fashioned way of building things. Because building ships is not so.
We've done that for.
It's much more older than the internet. Thousands of years, and but some way to do can be applied today in the digital or IT thing. Not the same thing, but. There are some logic, some way to think things. In the end, you are not doing the same job, but you are thinking the same as a kind of architect or to the builder. If you want to do things that are sustainable. You have to think of all of the things, and it's the same in IT. In fact.
Yeah, the same project approach and similar processes in the way things are developed and maintained after.
Yeah, and this is why you got a kind of engineer field on that, because you have a method, you have foundation to know, and then you can, once you have the understanding of all of these foundations about data, about computers, about compute, about data, about network, all of that, and then you can leverage every new evolution or new revolution, let's say, even in the IT field. So you have internet, things like data science, things like blockchain, and maybe next things like quantum calculators, things like quantum computers. Each time it's more and more huge gap with, but if you want to take advantage or leverage these new technologies, you have to think about the whole thing about the data information.
Okay. And so your first experience, you said it was with the Maritime, was when you worked in Toulon for the Charles de Gaulle.
It was in Paris.
It was in Paris? Okay,
yes,
so you were in the office,
yeah.
the development office?
Yeah.
Sorry. And after that, did you had other experience in the Maritime, or did you work for other field as a...
No, I decided to, so I was in Paris for my service. So then I found my first job after that in Paris, and I wanted to be very specialized in the data, in what we call business intelligence, as a way to leverage data to make decisions, to help people making decisions. So I have the opportunity to work on the financial institutions in Paris, huge banks and things like that, asset management companies, but also for huge administration like the Chambre de Commerce et d'Industrie de Paris, the Commerce and Industry Chamber of Paris. Okay. And also I work for companies like Rolex, in Switzerland, who makes watches.
What is this company? Never heard
so,
of it.
IT provides you the opportunity to work on all these fields and to learn many things, to learn different ways of working, because the stakes are not the same in administration than in a financial institution or in the industry. I work also a lot in the real estate and so on. So I moved from Paris to Lyon, where I first came with my studies. In fact, my university was based in Lyon. And then I work also in this field. And at this time, I was founded a company with some associate and was specialized in that, in business intelligence. And we were one of the first to do what was called data quality management, providing solutions in this field. So,
because you say you work for business analysis, business data and optimization, do you mean that you were developing algorithms that were treating the data to get information from it, or was it maybe a stage before in the gathering of the data, verification of the data? Which part was it actually?
In fact, I was got the opportunity to work on each stage. So one of my first jobs, I developed some very on the ground application to do some invoices and things like that, to manage operational things for the financial markets. But also I developed some reporting tools in order to for Crédit Agricole Asset Management, which is the asset management bank for the Crédit Agricole Bank, which is one of the hugest banks in France. And it was very great because I was doing that once there was a euro raise up in the end of the 90s. Before, we got the money for everybody. The financial markets goes to euro before, it was in 1999, if I'm good. And then it was a huge operation to see for first experience, to see how that has been managed, because in every country that was going to euro, or every country, in fact, they for the financial markets, they abandoned the whole currencies like franc, Dutch mark and things like that, to move to euro. So one night, they have to close with one pivot to determine what is the value, the last value of the euro against franc and other currencies.
Okay.
And then you have to move with that, in fact. So all your operation on the market was done in euro.
So it was really finance, but also geopolitical impact.
Because it was, the financial stakes were very huge, and it was a huge experience for me also about methodology to do that. Okay, you have to prepare the operation, to test, and so on. You cannot afford to fail. In fact, failure is not an option in this kind of operation. With all this country involved, or this economic asset at stakes. So it was a success. So it was great to see that and to be part of that also. So to move back to the to the question, at this time I was building tools, but most of all I was building data architecture and tools in order to provide means for the people make decisions to. So for instance, you have to integrate the data, which is called data engineering, then develop a data model in order to integrate this data. This time was called a data warehouse. Okay, now we have data lakes and so on, but this time was data warehouse. There are methodology to do that, and and in the end to do some tools in order for the people to access and to use KPIs and things like that to make decisions. So I work on the whole chain, and in the end as an architect, as a specialist, to have a strong overview of that. And what is really interesting in this field is that at the beginning you need data, so you need to plug on every system in a company or in an organization in order to put data together. And then so if you have many systems, you have different languages, in fact. And then in order to cross the data, you have to go every system users, every business users to understand what they want, but most of all, what they are using. And you discover that there are many words in the same company. Okay. A same item can have many meanings for many people. So you are the center of that, and you have you have a global overview of how work a company and all the people in it. So
you need to standardize a little bit the different languages, or at least in the output, try to find a way to
Exactly, but if you take, we are talking about maritime, for instance, a vessel, and the IT system, the vessel won't be the same for the guy which is planning the operations, the code, IMO code, I don't know. Then the financial guys don't have the same way to name it, so sometimes difficult to cross the data and so on. So
and some operation can be reported in nautical miles, some other in kilometers. It must be
exactly.
A real mess.
So you have to put all of that together. It's a huge work, in fact.
And when exactly did you start to work for the maritime industry?
So I started to work in 2009, 2008, when I integrated the CMA CGM group in Marseille. It was like 15 years ago, and I was coming from another company. It was a bank, so it was interesting because I left a bank, and I said to myself, okay, I will take a month out,
rest a little,
in order to rest before. And it was the exact moment where there was a crisis in 2008. The financial crisis in the banks. Okay. So I was in vacation between my two jobs, and so the banks are falling.
What did I do?
Why did I do that? So I joined the CMA-GM. So it was a challenge because this is a challenging company because there are which strong grew through the years. So they make a standard grew and so on. So they have too many challenges. The shipping market, the container market was really always rising. That's even the case today. So, but at this time there were also a challenge for them due to this financial crisis. So many organizations in the world, many people in the world in these years I've been involved in that. I've been I've challenged by this situation. So and it was okay for the CMA-CGM. So it was already a challenging company, and then more. So it was very interesting also to see how the people who are managing the company react, the strategy put in place in order to go through that, and to go today. Obviously, it's a success. So I was hired as a project manager in order to rebuild, to lead a project in order to rebuild the business intelligence systems at this time. So with the crisis, I moved as a manager in the financial team, and then as the company grew, I grew up with that until having a huge perimeter to handle with all the business intelligence solutions, financial teams, and so on to manage for the company from an IT point of view. Let's say, okay, not so, but in charge of all the solutions to handle that. And it was also, all the companies that go through the digital transformation phase or digital revolution, as it was in the late years, a few years ago. And so they create a digital factory. So I was part of that also because within my huge team, I got some people already involved in business intelligence, of course, data, and also data science. So in this field, we started data science years before, but it was not named like that. So, it's not digital things known at this time. But we go to build a team within the digital factory. It was a data science factory in order to leverage all the algorithm we have developed at this time. So there were solutions in order to forecast the container demands, the cargo filling, the best routes for the vessels, or things like predictive application, optimizations, things like that. So it was an opportunity to build a team with dedicated people just to do that and to leverage all these matters. So I was really passionate.
So very diversified from, you say, maybe just business or market intelligence, but also logistic tools and algorithm as well to track the cargo or the shipments.
Yeah, every part of the company. So now it's a global logistic company. But even at this time, you have the logistic optimization, the vessel optimization, the route optimization, pricing. For instance, in the shipping market, freight are really volatile, so they change, and it's really hard to predict. So there are huge attempts to be able to predict that. Also at the market level, because your strategy decision to make in order to decide whether you will build some vessels or where you will allocate your fleet or things like that. So you need to anticipate to understand what are the market trends for next year, for instance, in the world and things like that. So it goes from the top to the bottom to the vessels to identify what can be optimized with the fuel consumption or things like that.
And how many teams did you manage that were dedicated to all those aspects of the shipping?
So at this time, the team was a 20 people team, dedicated to that. And now we are like 100 people, so it grew with the company. But at the beginning, there are far less people, or you have people but spread all around the company, in fact. So then we put all of that together in order to leverage all of that. Okay.
And at that time, because I imagine, as you say, there are various aspects that need optimization, that needs info, data, algorithm to treat the different data that are flowing in the business. How do you work? Did they develop everything internally? Were you part of project to develop in-house algorithm to, let's say, predict in real time the best price for a container or for like a placement in a vessel? Or did you use external solution? Did you do benchmark to know which solution was the best, etc.?
In fact, in such companies, you do all of that. In fact, you have not one strategy. So for some algorithm were in-house made, but also with the assistance of specialized companies, for instance. So, for instance, what we got for sure is that the understanding and the data management. In fact, so this is really specific internally. But then you can raise an ID. Someone come with, you got an ID. So you look at the ID. So you clean up the data, and then you have a data scientist who raised up an algorithm. Okay, very good. I have an ID. And at some point you need to scale. Okay, you got a good idea, but going from the POC, from a proof of concept to an operational and scalable applications. So even you got the resource internally in order to do that, is not. Obviously, it's better to have internally the knowledge of the business, okay, the ability to find out some ideas, to do some POC or things like that. But to go into the scale, you can rely on external companies in order to leverage or to build scalable applications based on your algorithms. Okay. Or also you can go to find out someone who has already developed a solution and then integrate it, test it, and adapt it, integrate it to your system. You can do both, and sometimes you do both. So you take an external solution with a data provider, a data solution provider. You build on a solution, and you feed it with your own solution. So you get an ecosystem that can be very mixed regarding the strategy you had to develop solution. What is sure is that data science is a field, AI, with every day you get someone coming to you with a solution, and so you have to look at that, but you have also to challenge, because there are already lots of companies are working in this field, and none of them are already tangible, in fact, solutions. Okay, so you had which is very interesting to have the expertise in order to challenge the solution and to see whatever have some value, and the speed, how to integrate this value to your company.
Okay. And talking about maritime ecosystem and solution provider, after CMS CGM, you joined Opsealog. You said at the beginning that you now work as technical director. So what do you do today as a technical director of Opsealog? Is it basically the same thing, or are you managing new things?
So at some point, as the CMS CGM, what's really interesting is the kind of organizations that every 2 or 3 years you get opportunity to do something new, or to improve your situation. If you are willing to do that, you can do that. Okay, they're providing the means to do that. But what was really hard for me is to my dream as a beginner, when I started this job or this work, my career, was one day to become a CIO or CTO, Chief Information Officer or Chief Technical Officer.
Okay.
And why? Because I wanted to be the guy that has the world view on the system and to make decisions and to put that together. So even there are many fields in the IT, from operation to development and architecture and so on. And in a company like CMS CGM, it was really hard for me to get this level. Okay, I was improving, but the way to be on the top of the pyramid. And in another hand, I was looking at what we are doing at this time and was wondering myself, okay, there are really interesting algorithm and things like that. And most of the solution we got at this time was to be used internally as a CME. It was for their own value. Okay, so it was a strategy. I was saying to myself, okay, maybe there's business to do with all of that, with some algorithm, with the data, and so on. And Opsealog was a true opportunity to meet these two expectations. Okay, one was to be in charge of the whole IT operation organization, and to do it my way, in fact. And the other way to IT itself is not an end. Okay? The purpose of all of that is to serve the business. Okay, and there were huge business stakes in the maritime industry where I was working Opsealog. So that's why I decided to go with Opsealog with new challenges also.
Okay. And so, were there any challenges related to the maritime as a technical challenges? Because I guess everything has evolved a lot. I know that when you're at sea operating on a ship, it's really hard to have information. The connectivity must be a challenge. The lifetime of the equipment on board, there must be a restriction also due to that. Do you feel it today when you're dealing with, when you're developing solutions that are on board ships?
Yeah, for sure, because this is kind of industry where you cannot do anything on the vessel. There are security issues, operational issues. These are very costly assets. Life has stakes also. So, okay, this is sea power or sea market. This is really central to our economic system. So, okay, you cannot do anything. But maybe it's the case in other industry. Okay, non-industry or sector, we can do senseless things. So, yeah, right, there are specific things regarding the maritime, but maybe you can find out that in other sector also. So, but what is really interesting in this field is that at the time you work in the maritime industry, you work in international environment. For instance, today we are speaking English, so maybe if other French topic, we'll do it in French, and then the stakes are different. So you have to, in addition to work on complex things, you have to share it at many people in the world on a 24/7 service level. Okay, you have to provide the service every moment in the world. There are some ships on the sea, so you got to be able to provide some support to this vessel. So this is very specific on the service level, which are very high on this industry, in my opinion. And also there is maybe a huge legacy of the vessel itself, themselves, because it's not like a car. But even maybe you change a car not so often. But when you build a ship, it will last 20, 30 years, I don't know, maybe more or less. But when you are dealing today with some vessels, maybe they are quite old regarding the technological evolution of the solution. So you have to take that into account, even for the connectivity, for instance. Today, we are not at the same point like 5 years ago. Okay, for instance, there are new satellite networks that provide a huge connectivity that were not there. So when we start developing a solution 10 years ago, we use fixed broadband system in order to send email. Today, no use for that. You get directly through internet and so on. It will depend on the area you operate, but globally, it's not easy, but you can access to high connectivity if you have the money. In fact, before it wasn't the case. So this is point that the technology evolves, the vessels are evolving, but even without that, you got a lot of data. Okay, the positions onshore, I got a lot of information about what the vessels are doing, what they're supposed to do, and then you got some data, more and more data coming from sensors. You can put some additional sensors on the vessels in order to get information like EFMS or something like that. So yeah, every day we get more data. So a few years ago, the paradigm was big data, you know that, because the challenge was to face how to manage huge volume of data. And today you are moving much more how to leverage this data. In fact, artificial intelligence is how we put intelligence of that. Always be the case, in fact. So in IT, in fact, you have data, intelligence, and so you move. An algorithm is a part of intelligence. And this field is also running fast today, and more. So you get, and that's great because as the connectivity improve, you get more data, and you get more ability to provide intelligence to the vessels directly to enhance the productivity or the security, all of that.
And what you said is very interesting because in the previous episodes of Maritime with a French accent, we discussed a bit with Arnaud, Colomban, and Damien about the market, the maritime market, and also the fact that it seems to be slower than other industry to evolve, at least on a technical aspect, and on the digitalization aspect as well. And finally, the fact that maybe the assets, the vessels, have, as you said, a long lifetime can be a true cause of this, and not just seafarer that want to stick to all the old-fashioned ways. But it's true that when you have a car and there is a new model of car every year, it's easy to implement new technology in the next generation of car that will go next year. But with vessels that cost billions and that have a lifetime of 30, 20 years, the evolution tends to go slower. And same, you need to have a ship to prove that the technology is working. So same, it's not something that you can change from a day to another. But as you said also, it's interesting is that at the beginning it felt like data was a new thing, so we were gathering a lot of data, and most of the people, but not only in the maritime industry but everywhere, they gathered data but they didn't do anything from it. They just say, okay, we are at the top of the technology, we gather data from everything, we have connected IoT things, but they were not doing things. And now there is more and more solutions that provide ways to really extract value from this data and not let it sleep on an Excel file or any storage unit, but really deal with this data and turn it into information and optimize operation. That's what you do today with Opsealog.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to find crazy ideas in order to improve the life of the companies and the people on board. And on the one hand, you got all this opportunity. On the other hand, you got to make it real.
Yeah.
And something that works every day. So with a service level really accountable. People on board, they cannot afford not to have the solution not working. Okay, so it's a tough situation. So if there's a ride on it, okay. But ships are working before there were IT, in fact. Yeah, like we said. So, yeah. So even if tomorrow there are no IT, there'll still be ships, in fact. So you're in this world about maritime, right? But I don't think it's so slow. It goes this own speed, okay? But some things are going faster than others, okay? For instance, I can imagine that more and more people on board have some smartphone or things like that, ability to connect, and even the bridge laptop or the bridge computer can be the way to provide solutions, even if the vessel itself is not fully digitalized, in fact. Okay?
Yeah.
So there are some very smart way to do that, in fact.
Because at the time, information was there. It was just not as precise and slower to come. So they were a logbook in paper, but once a month they were reviewing the data. Or same, we knew the position of the ship, but after it arrived to the port, or after later we had the beginning of satellites or radio, so we could know the approximate solution. The only thing that have changed is that the granularity of this data, we now have almost real-time position of the vessel anytime. We can track more precise data and a huge more volume of this data. And so now the challenge is to have a quality data, and with the connectivity improving, that's what we are tending to get, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, data collection, computing, all of that will be commodities, in fact. What is different is the way you use it, in fact. So you have to really be smart. And I start with that, with the data. What is really complex is to put all this data together, in fact. If you want to provide a reliable result, or predictive analytics or something like that, you should be able to qualify your data. And this is and with more and more data, it's more and more complex to qualify the data. And if you not data of good quality, you won't have some tangible results, in fact, with that.
Okay.
So, but more and more, the compute will be accessible for everybody, in fact. So that's why I was saying that a lot of people come on the market with new solutions, but not so many have tangible results. In fact, today in this industry or other industry.
And so today, the data quality as a technical director is one of your priorities. What are the other priority when you're dealing with your daily operations and missions?
On top of that, you have the security. In fact, because today most of the solutions rely on the cloud mode, or even if you are not on the cloud, you are connected to internet one way or another, or you have people in your company connected. So cybersecurity is the first things that I have to think about, because it's very important for the company, obviously, because if the system shut down, maybe we can die. Okay.
But and there are examples of big company that had a cyber attack, and we've seen that they were blocked. All the operation were blocked for days or weeks.
It costs millions or even more, hundreds of millions of dollars or euros for this company. Some can make it, some not. And in the maritime industry, let's say in the container ship industry or the major companies in that, all of them have been attacked in the past year. So you have to take that into account. And even the cyber for the company and for our customers, in fact, because our customers rely on us. They count on us for the service we provide. So we got to do that. Okay. So first, the cyber security is really important. After that, this is the kind of service level, the availability of the solutions, the performances of the solutions. So people will have to do it. It cannot be painful for people to use our solutions. So that's first. And then, how to say, the accuracy of our solution, because our purpose is to provide efficiency or results, and then we are accountable with the quality of the results, and so on the data. In fact, so we have to change the whole chain, and we are a kind of continuous improvement work on that. So okay, we get data, so we get lessons on that, and then we improve our algorithm and so on. Always moving forward. Never sleep on your on what you're doing. So always you got to improve. And then to do that, you need to have the smartest team as possible on data, for data collection, data integration, data engineering, data science, business intelligence, and on software in order to how you can have the best algorithm in the world if people are not able to use it or to see the result. Integrating into their business process is no use, in fact. To be useful, you got to put it in a solution that is easy to use for the people, in fact. So it's really difficult to make something easy, in fact. So in the end, when the people see a KPI or something that's really useful for them, they think, it looks simple. But in fact, maybe behind the scene, it's a nightmare to
it's like when you see an athlete doing sport and it seems easy, and when you try it after, it's like, wow, running a marathon is not that easy.
Yes, exactly that. Yeah. You're right.
But that means that it's well done if it looks easy.
Yes.
And as a technical director, I guess you're doing a lot of watch on the news, social media to know the latest technology advancement in the field and other field, not only the maritime. What do you think would be the future main evolution and innovation for the maritime in terms of digital or technical innovations?
Let's say overall, because the maritime won't be an exception regarding that, with the rise of artificial intelligence, with more and more compute on that. So sometimes kind of buzzword, okay, you put of that a lot of things that were done before, but now you see that company invest more and more in that. So maybe there will be a challenge for this technology, because it's kind of hype, and today on the financial market, they were skeptical about the results. So it's always like that, it ramp up really quickly, and then it fell, and then it become a commodity. So, but it will be something really common in the next years. And in my opinion, for some use cases, when the quantic computers will raise, really, it will be a huge gap. For instance, in cyber, if you are not, if you do not anticipate that or you not have solutions, it can be very hard to compete. And most of that, it does not apply on every use cases, in fact. But use cases like operational research, things like you got to find an optimization point, a solution, for instance, the quickest way to do something or to go somewhere, can be instantly, in fact. Can be as quick as a light. Yeah. At the speed of light, you do some calculations that today are not even possible, in fact. So for sure, it will be for us that are working the way to optimize the operation, I think like that, it can be a revolution, in fact.
Okay. Thank you very much, Gilles. Thank you for all this information, for sharing your vision and what you do with us in this podcast. Thank you for everybody who listened to this podcast. You can follow us on the different social media, on LinkedIn, but also on YouTube, Twitter, and Spotify. And see you soon for a new episode of Maritime with a French accent.